welcome. What I'm doing is I'm doing some raw glazing here, some of these small bud vases and some of those small pictures here. So at the moment I'm doing the inside. Before we do that, let's have some announcements. Yes. January 9th. Leach treadle wheels, taking orders now. Okay, 50% deposit. If you're interested, it's a kit wheel. I can have them made up fully finished, but I am not shipping them. You have to come and pick them up. If you want a finished wheel, come and pick it up. But I can do the kit wheel, I can ship them all over the US. Continuing, 10% discount on tools, okay, until January 15th. If that interests you, order now while they're 10% off. Basically, it's almost like you get free shipping. All right. Keep practicing workshops. March we are full, but the rest, yeah, we've got vacancies in April, May, June, July, blah blah blah. Continuing on. Write to me with the date that interests you. Pretty much at the moment it's pretty open. If you want to host me in your studio, write to me, simonleachpottery@gmail.com. Yeah, I can come to your studio, to your group, and we could do like a 1 or 2 day workshop. Probably if it's a long distance, it won't be less than 2 days. All right, so if you're somebody who's would like to have me come, then contact me or speak to your studio organizer. All right, take a screenshot of that. That's the announcements for today. Okay, let's get on with it. So I've got these bud vases here. I'm trying to encourage people to have a go at doing this raw glazing. So I've done those. I'll do one more here. So yeah, these are all just thrown pots. They're finished, they're sealed, and they're just dry. All right, and we're just going to simply pour the glaze, sort of 2/3 full, swill it around, and tip it out. So basically, the thing about raw glazing is you want to think about doing it in 2 parts. All right, the first is to glaze the inside, and when I do that, I usually just wipe off the rim here at the top, okay, because when I come back to it, I don't want to have a double layer of glaze right on the lip there. The next thing I do is, as you saw me do, spritz it with water. All right, that's those. I've got to change glaze now to my other glaze, and these glazes, incidentally, for those of you who already fire to cone 10 anyway, and do bisking, you're probably not going to need to change your glaze recipe to do this. And that's one of the things that daunted me for a long time, was the thought that, oh my gosh, if I do that, it means I'm going to have to change all my glazes. Well, not necessarily, no. So yeah, think about that. All right, here's a clean jug. I keep these, these plastic lids off the tops of things. It acts as a saucer, you see. You don't get. One of the things, when you're working with an iron oxide glaze like I am here, this Celadon glaze, or any iron bearing glaze, it does require a little bit of cleanup, and keeping on top of things, that you don't get it all over your hands and get it all over everywhere, etc. Right, I'm just going to do a time check here. 3:57. I don't want to go over time. Right, next. so here we've got my white glaze. I need to clean my whisk. Always best to clean these things while they're still wet, then let them dry, because then they're twice as much work to clean. So there we go. That's that. Right, put that back on the glaze. That glaze bucket. That can be there. Oh, we need some water there. Key thing about glazing, you know, get prepared. Make sure you've got what you need before you start. You don't want to have to stop halfway through, and then you've got to wash all your hands, and you know. So, we're in the picture. Are we in the picture? Yeah, I guess we are. Kind of right. So next, give your glaze a stir, and if it's been stood around for a long time, you may want to, with the help of one of these, just dig down into the corners of the bucket. If you find the glaze settles out, you see. This one's actually, I was using not very long ago, so it's okay. Get yourself a caterer's whisk, useful. Right, there we go. So I just got here, I roughly divided these bud vases here, half in celadon green and half, because I got 16, so I got 8 in each, and 8, these are going to be the white milky, the Mike Wilkie, no, the white milky, the Mike Wilkie glaze. So, next, you get a small amount of glaze. Am I in the picture? Right, and just pour that in, like that. Don't fill it up to the top, alright? Put that back over there. Just give it a swill like that, you see, swill it around. And now pour and twist at the same time. Alright, next you're going to go for your sponge. Just let it drip off a minute. Alright, and on the lip there, just wipe it once like that. Okay, to wipe it right off the very top of the lip. Okay, take your spritzer, just give it a spritz like that. Okay, next. Swirl it around, pour and twist. Okay. Why do I spritz it afterwards? It's because I put all that wetness on the inside of the vessel, the pot, the bud vase in this case. So the outside is still bone dry, but the inside is laden with water, a watery glaze that's being absorbed. So by squirting a bit of water on the outside, I'm equalizing out the tension that is building up in the pot, because as that pot absorbs the water from the glaze, it wants to expand, you see. So by putting water on the outside, I expand the outside as well, and that releases the tension. That's my theory. That's my theory. Okay. Twist and turn. Wipe wipe it there once across the top like that. Okay. Spritz. Spritz. Yeah. There it is. So I've got a jug of clean water there, and then the jug with the glaze. So we're doing this in two parts. Sorry, kick the tripod. Why don't you? Doing this in two parts. Why are we doing that? I would much rather sort of do the whole thing in one, you know, like do the inside and then dip it immediately straight into the glaze bucket. But I have discovered when I do that there's some air that is trapped in the wall of the pot. Because if you appreciate as you wet the inside of the piece with glaze, the wall of the pot is sucking that water. It leaves the glaze as a deposit on the outside or the inside on the surface, and the water is absorbed into the wall of the pot. As that water is absorbed, it pushes air that's also trapped in the wall of the pot out through the other side. So it pushes it out, and I found if I glaze the inside and the outside pretty much at the same time, that somehow that air that's trapped in there, it sort of lifts a little piece of the pot somewhere in odd little places. It kind of lifts, like a little door opens, and that air comes out. So what I found is by doing it in two parts like this, inside and then the outside, gives time, you see, it gives time there just for some of that air just to push out. It's a little bit hit and miss, I admit. Sorry, I keep kicking that leg, don't I? It's just, you know, you've just got to. It's. You can read about these things in. Yeah, there's not much information actually out there on raw glazing. To be honest, I say you can read about it. Well, that's easier said than done. It's not generally written about much from what I can see. So that's just spritzing it a little like that. I'm not soaking the outside as if I'm covering it all with glaze. Just going to twist this tripod around because I keep whacking that leg down there, don't I? Ooh, that's better. Right, okay. So yeah, just a few more to go here. In like that. Swirl it around. Tip it out. See, a lot of people are daunted by glazing, aren't they? Just even bisque glazing. My recommendation is don't even start doing bisque glazing. Yeah, I'm going to get a lot of people jumping on me now, I know. Oh, Simon, but you don't understand. We run a studio here, we can't have people raw glazing. Well, I agree. If you're running a studio and you've got a lot of raw people in off the street and they don't really know what they're doing, well, you don't want them doing raw glazing because it's a little bit more advanced, you know, than for sort of complete newbies right off the street. But you know, I'm trying to show you how easy it is, you see. Yeah. See, lots of people who watch my YouTube videos, you lot out there, I know because some of you have written to me. I'm thinking of my old Scottish friend from down there in Florida, Freddie. You know who you are, Freddie, don't you? Yeah. Well, you've been doing it, and you've been doing it with a lot of success and been very happy with the process. And I'm quite sure there's a lot of other people who've taken the plunge and having a go at doing raw glazing once firing. It speeds things up, doesn't it? Because we're just making the pots, you see, and before we know it, we're glazing them, and that, you know, before we know it, Bob's your uncle, they're in the kiln. They're in the kiln. Okay, so those guys, the first part of glazing of those is now done. I could just leave them, let them dry back a bit, you see. I'm just going to move along here now. I've got 4 pictures. I need to glaze on the inside. Yeah, these are some little pictures I made them a little while back. They've been hanging around. As you can see, roller wheel over the handle and around the base there, just to give a little bit of a little detail, you know. Okay, so stir the glaze. I'm almost out of glaze here. I'm going to have a glaze making session soon, and I know who's going to be waiting in the wings, my good friend Eddie, because he wants me to try out his glaze mixer that he gave me. I want to try it out too. I'm looking forward to trying out that, Eddie. Yes, indeed. Also, we'll be doing that soon. I've got to make up a bigger batch of Temmaku glaze, and which is an iron-bearing glaze. It's like the Celadon. It's like the Celadon that's got iron in like this, but it's got considerably more iron in it. So it makes for a nice well, it makes for a nice, for those who don't know, it makes for a nice kind of, kick the tripod again, why don't you? You see that? That's a brown, see how it breaks on the corners here. That's just a cylinder, thrown as a cylinder and faceted just on the four sides. You see, it's not faceted. I could have faceted it on these sides as well. It's very dusty. But sometimes just doing 4, then you've got a little bit of the roundness you're still leaving here on the corners, and it's flat on the sides. Got a feeling this actually had a decoration with ilmenite here on that side and that side. It looks actually like it got a bit hot, and it kind of blurred the decoration there. Quite nice to have a go at doing some slightly more thickly thrown cylinders, and then you can, when they are a little bit leather hard, you can facet them. Right. So again, here it's going to pour in a third, no more than a half. Sort of swill it around like that, and now pour and twist. Pour and twist like that. Sponge. Let it drip off for a few seconds, and I'm just wiping over that top there like that. Okay, that's it. Now spritzing. Oh yeah. Yeah, so this glaze is the same glaze that I used beforehand when I was doing the same kind of pots, but I was bisque firing. This is the same glaze with a very small difference, and I don't think I needed to have done it, but I added to the glaze. I kept the recipe exactly the same, but I added 2% bentonite, just 2%, because I had read in different places, and I had something in the back of my mind that told me I ought to do that, but having rethought about it, I think actually I needn't have done that, and I think I could have just got away with not doing it. Well, I'm still on that same bucket of glaze, so I haven't really been able to prove conclusively one way or another. But you see, when very first time I did this, when I did the raw glazing, I raw glazed, let's say it was these pictures. Well, as you can see, these are bone dry. Well, when I did it the first time, I put this glaze on when they were leather hard. Well, of course, the glaze dries on the surface of the pot, but the pot underneath is leather hard. It hasn't finished shrinking yet. So what happens? It continues to shrink or get smaller. The glaze that you put on the surface that is now dried is left high and dry, and eventually it just flakes off and falls off onto the bench, onto the wearboard, before you even get it to the kiln. That's because the pot is still shrinking, because it's leather hard. So then I thought, okay, well let me just put the same glaze onto a pot that is bone dry, which has already done its shrinking, which I did, and it was perfect, no problem. So that made me think indeed, yes, that what does it make me think? Lost my train of thought there for a second. Yeah, my next thought was, you know, if this was bisque fired pot in my hand now, it's not, it's a raw pot, but you know what, in terms of shrinkage, I don't think it shrinks a great deal. Anyway, the key thing is that the glaze is matching the pot. It's not, the pot's finished shrinking and the glaze just lays on the surface, and as it goes into the kiln and it's slowly heated up, yeah, it just melts and adheres to the body of the pot perfectly. So you know, it's really totally pointless bisque firing. Why would I need to bisque fire? You know, it's just a waste of time and energy and money. So it's really totally illogical to continue to, once I discovered that and I managed to do it successfully. Mind you, I had a few, you know, I had to learn a bit, I made some mistakes, but I mean, that's okay. We don't mind making mistakes, do we? If we do, we're in the wrong job. There it is. So now these guys, which are now the Sullivan ones there, the milky ones here, these, yeah, tomorrow I'll come back to these and I'll glaze the outside. Maybe we'll do that together tomorrow, we'll do the outside. So, now people sometimes think to themselves, or maybe ask me, oh Simon, I do cone 6, will that work with cone 6? I don't know, never done cone 6 in my life. Asking the wrong guy. Not the foggiest idea, but you know what? Knowing what I know, I wouldn't be in the slightest bit daunted by the fact I'd never done cone 6 before. I would just go right out there and I would, you know, my next kiln load of pots that you fire in your cone 6 kiln, just take 2 or 3 pots and do it like this. Raw glaze them and put them in with the other ones. More than likely they're going to come out just the same as the others. You're not even going to know that they were raw glaze. There's not going to be any difference. They're not going to look different or, you know, behave differently. So by all means, go ahead and give it a go. I mean, you know, you're never going to know unless you try. It's only fear that is holding you back. And once you put in 2 or 3 pots and you've had a successful result, something's going to happen in your thinking, and you're going to think, wow, this opens up a whole new realm of possibilities, doesn't it? I can make pots twice as quickly now. I can make them and glaze them and fire them. I haven't got to do all this packing them into a bisque kiln and then unpacking them out. Oh, nothing so boring as unpacking a bisque kiln, is there really? And sometimes you find in the process of doing the bisque fire, the wretched things crack. Or things happen in the bisque fire that they wouldn't necessarily happen if you'd fired them all the way up to cone 10 in one, or up to cone 6 all at once. But you know, taking them up so far and then stopping, you sort of, makes you wonder, doesn't it? I don't know. You can look at videos about it, you can read about it, but until you actually go out there and do it, you're never going to really know. But I will encourage you, go out there and do it, have a go. Alright, so the next firing you're going to do in your kiln, you're going to make some pots and you're going to dry, raw glaze them like I'm doing, inside first and then outside. And you're going to put 2 or 3 of them in, and you're just going to go ahead. Just mind when you fire up on a glaze, you don't fire up too quickly. That's the only thing. Just want to go, you know, as if you're firing a bisque, you want to go a little bit slowly to start with. Bear in mind, if you've got 2 or 3 pots in your kiln, go a little slowly, just to start, okay? But then I would just go pretty much fire them as you would the rest. Then that's what I would do. Yeah, I would do that. Looking back now in retrospect, I definitely would do that. I should have done this years ago. Gosh. I'll tell you what, I can show you something. I do gas firing, but I used to overfire my gas kiln quite regularly, and then the bisque pots would come out then too hard to take glaze. I could show you pots in the other room there that are like almost halfway stoneware fired, and because I took them too hot, so they're no longer absorbent, you know, so they don't take glaze very well. That's really frustrating. So I don't have that problem anymore now. So please give this a go. I think you might be pleasantly surprised. And at worst, let's say you don't like it or it doesn't go as planned. Well, you've only wasted a couple of pots or 3 pots. So there you go. Well, thanks for watching, folks. For those of you who stuck it out to the bitter end. That's why I decided to give my little announcements at the beginning and not at the end, because I suddenly realised to myself, I bet you there's a whole load of people who look at my videos, they never really get to the end. And they probably never even get to hear the things I say at the end of the video, you know, about different things. So I thought best put them at the beginning of the video. I hope that makes sense to you. Anyway, it does to me. Alright, nothing more to be said, just keep practicing. And you will improve without question. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.